checking Twitter tonight, or X, and Daredevil never trended. It trended #1 when it debuted, although that was a really big deal opening. Whether you liked it or not, you certainly wanted to talk about it. But, some of you had said you thought the ratings might be a little soft because it went up against the presidential address, although this is for the first 5 days. So what's the excuse for the other 4 days? But, this evening, there was nothing big going up against it, really. So I'm a little surprised that it didn't trend at all, not even top 25. Although one of you did DM me that you thought tonight's episode was both boring and sad, which I thought was a very funny and understandable response. As for me, I see a glimmer of hope. Although that always gets me in trouble. I see what they're trying to do. So I want to discuss it. But it was very sad, as I tweeted myself. Very sad. I'm trying to get it trending. Very sad. I was quite moved by the end of the episode. I wasn't sure, but I gotta say, any kind of episode that can get that kind of an emotional response, even if it's just at the very end, I think some golf clap is appropriate, right? So, as I just said, I see what the show is trying to do, and I find it interesting, but I think they're missing some crucial elements. There are some flaws, which we're going to discuss, but I think the big one is no action. This is a comic book show. It's not a legal drama. It's a Marvel show, no less. And not only has the show benched Daredevil and Kingpin, but now they killed off White Tiger before he even got a single action sequence. That news clip does not count, even if they showed it twice. That was a couple snippets. They even let the guy suit up, and he never got a fight. But man, when White Tiger got shot, he got taken out point blank in the head. I gasped. I believe I gasped and said, "Oh no," because I felt so bad for him, and it was just, for a show that moves so slowly, I guess it was effective to suddenly move very quickly, and just like that, White Tiger was gone. Oh, I felt so bad for him. And then over the end credits, you started to hear some ambient noise come in. And I was like, oh, are we outside? Is this going to be some kind of post-credit scene where maybe there's some political backers on the lawn drinking some lemonade, telling Kingpin what they want to do? And then I was like, wait a minute. Are we on that beach in Puerto Rico? And that's that little frog singing his heart out? The one that Hector said in his jail cell he'd hoped he'd get to see again someday, and Matt said he would? Oh my gosh, that was extremely sad. That's what I think it was a very powerful ending to the episode. That was just for all the issues I've had with how the show has been filmed and directed otherwise, that was nicely done. There's one other thing I'm going to point out as well. But anyway, as we sadly know, the actor playing Hector, Camar de los Reyes, passed away in 2023. He really did a beautiful job here. His vigilante wasn't a hardened, angry fighter like Daredevil. Look what Daredevil said. You know what the cure is for a black eye? Faster hands. Oh, he went there. You can't fight, you dumb, dirty cop. But Hector was just a good man, in over his head. De los Reyes gave Hector an innocence and a naivete, but at the same time allowed Hector to maintain his dignity and for us to respect him. We weren't like, what are you doing, Hector? We're like, Hector has no choice. It's who he is. Protect him at all costs. Matt really dropped the ball on that one. Whew. We're going to talk about that too. But let me just say, I spent 3 seasons with Foggy Nelson. And this new character, okay, who is not even very well established, his death hit me harder. What do you think? All right, so clearly, here's the setup coming into focus for Daredevil Born Again. I'm like, okay, I see you. I see what you're trying to do here. So both Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk are trying to leave Daredevil and Kingpin in their past. As Matt tells Hector, there are other ways to help. Matt's a lawyer. Kingpin, or Fisk feels, it's Fisk now. Sorry, Fisk. Fisk feels that he's going to help as mayor. But how does the saying go? Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. I'm having fun tonight. Okay, it's after dark. So Fisk's wife, Vanessa, doesn't want to stop being a criminal. Matt Murdock thought he could deliver justice in court. He didn't need to wear the mask. But when he finds out about Hector's death, he's going to discover that he did not deliver justice. In fact, he made it worse. I mean, that wall of angry cops at the back of the courtroom, I mean, they were just glaring a hole right into Hector already. Hector should have left that courthouse and left New York City. And certainly worn that amulet at all. I believe actually he had the amulet on when he died. That's so sad. That's very sad. It's and to some degree, a more very sad version of the Indiana Jones joke. That's very sad. It's like all the superhero community would be like, wasn't he wearing his magical amulet? And they're like, guess what? Did nothing for him. All right, so back to the big picture that they're putting into focus here. Matt and Fisk, they won out. But here's White Tiger. The reason they brought that character in is that he's a mirror for Matt to look into, who, even if you take his mask away, like that on that night on New Year's Eve on the subway platform, he can't stop being a hero, even though Matt has found it very possible to stop. Matt's like, you can stop. And Hector's like, I can't stop. And Matt's like, are you trying to, it's like, let's talk about you, Matt. This is making you look real bad. And Fisk, he wants to stop being a criminal, but Vanessa is going behind his back, acting in his name to try and keep a hold on their criminal empire. But alas, there is even yet another wrinkle. Dirty cops. So yes, Fisk is very anti-vigilante due to his own experiences with Daredevil. It's like Trump being very anti-FBI and IRS after what happened to him, and New York Attorney General. And after Hector is found not guilty on all counts, Fisk is furious and he decides to go to the press. Also classic, well, a lot of politicians are doing this these days. He's, his legit assistant is like, I can get you the Times. And he's like, bring me my influencer, BB Urich. And he talks about the importance of law and order, which he says vigilantes are the antithesis of. Yet as Kingpin speaks about the importance of law and order, we see White Tiger executed by the police. Jury, judge, and executioner, wearing the Punisher symbol, right? Again, pulled from real life. Some police actually did this, actually wore that symbol to do bad things. So we saw the painting on the streets earlier in the episode on the wall, although there was a Kingpin painting as well. Is it Muse? Is Muse painting a whole bunch of stuff? Muse is watching Daredevil as well. But also, this was a nice trick. Throughout the episode, or last episode and this one, the Punisher symbol has gotten progressively bigger. That is very nice. It started out as a small little tattoo on that guy's wrist. Then it moved to that giant, very conspicuous neck tattoo on the other police officer. Did you see that? Yeah, I saw it. It was waving to me from across the room. And then at the end, a whole torso in the style of Frank Castle himself. Now, we know the Punisher's coming. He's going to be on the show. I don't think Matt will ever be like, was it you, Frank? No. But I'm sure Matt feels Frank's going to want to know about this. And maybe help him do something about it, right? I doubt they'd be so stupid enough to be like, maybe they'll listen to you, Frank. I don't think so. I heard that Matt is not going to suit up for like another couple episodes. So on that note, let's segue to some of the other crucial errors this show is making. Yeah. All right. So it's very interesting to have Matt and Fisk fighting off their alter egos. Like, I get intellectually that story idea. Like, they don't want to be Daredevil and Kingpin. But here's the problem. Therefore, they're not Daredevil and Kingpin, who everybody tuned in to see. If you called this the Murdoch-Fisk show, people would be like, well, maybe I'll catch it later, which is unfortunately what some people are saying. Perhaps because the first two episodes kind of gave it away that that's what they're doing instead. What an odd thing to do. Now, it's clever to say, well, hey, if we're going to bench Daredevil, they should have brought in another vigilante like they did and another villain. But so on the Daredevil front, if we're going to bench Daredevil, let's bring in another vigilante who steps up as Daredevil steps down. But we never got to see White Tiger, as I said, in action. We never even really got to know him. We connected with him these few episodes, not because of the script, but again, because of De Los Reyes' amazing performance. He connected with us, not the show. But think about it. One extra episode, I would have put it after one, where we really kind of, like right before the subway confrontation, where we really get to see White Tiger in action. Like all those testimonies in court, show don't tell. It's classic screenwriting. Why am I hearing about all these wonderful things that White Tiger did instead of seeing them? They're like, we kind of drew illustrations of still photos. I'm like, how little money do you have? I thought you were spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these Disney Plus shows. And you can't do like some street level rescues. And also, and don't write them so big then. I mean, just write some stuff that's easy to film. I mean, you know what your budget is. And also a stronger introduction to all these dirty cops. Like, I should know who they are instead of being like, is that the guy from, I couldn't even recognize him at first when he confronted Daredevil in the men's room. I was like, only when he said, oh, you're the lawyer who fights pretty good. I was like, oh, he didn't die. That's nice. He seems actually pretty good because, I mean, his arm wasn't broken. So I guess he was the guy who had his neck kind of messed up. He's looking pretty good. But yeah, I would have liked to have gotten to get know these characters a little bit better, as well as really seeing at least a little bit more what happened on that platform. In entertainment, trials work best when the audience is emotionally invested, either in the people who are on trial or the event that is being investigated. We don't really get either. Sure, there can be some surprises. Of course there can. That switch up getting the informant to court, that was great. Well, I wouldn't say great. I wish it had a little more action to it. I thought that they had a trap door in the van or something like that, or they hopped out of the van, like at a turn or something we would have found out. But instead they were like, we took a taxi, ha ha. I mean, it worked, and I thought it was a good gotcha moment, largely because that dirty cop, you just really wanted to punch him in the face, so you were like, yeah, you got him. I can't believe he did it himself, too. I was like, have you ever heard of deniable plausibility or whatever? This is a court legal show. But it was a good moment. It was still a good moment. And also when the informant backed out at the last minute for testifying because he knows what these police officers are capable of, as we then found out ourselves. And by the way, there are, of course, dirty cops in real life. Again, this Punisher logo situation is pulled from real life. But it's certainly a strong choice for this show to make what seems to be every single police person bad. Like, there's no good policeman there. There's not even some hapless police person eating a donut being like, who are you guys giving an angry look to? What's going on? Did I miss a meeting? Like, just everybody's in on it. Like, every single police officer. It almost became cartoonish. And no one else in the court is where's the press? Where's BB Urich being like, get those gloomy, staring police officers on camera? I mean, it was just weird. It seemed like the entire precinct, at least, was corrupt. I can see a group being corrupt within the precinct, and maybe even a sizable group. But the entire precinct? I mean, I would just think you couldn't have everybody in on it because, just again, for liability issues. You're like, we can't trust everybody here to keep their mouth shut, so we got to keep it to like at least 20, 30 guys. But again, it seemed like every police officer in New York was in on it. I guess there's that retired detective who was complaining about dirty cops when he retired in episode 1, who now works for Matt. And he did, by the way, supply the informant with hard drugs so he could take the edge off before he had to testify. Ooh, so edgy, Disney Plus. You're like, oh, our hero side gave drugs to the informant. And you're like, okay, settle down. Maybe if the informant had been a little bit jittery and hadn't been so comfortable, maybe he would have ended up testifying as he was supposed to. I'm just saying. All right, so in addition to benching Daredevil, Kingpin, and White Tiger, so ridiculous. How did nobody bring that up in the writer's room? Be like, wait a minute, I'm looking at the board, and you seem to have benched every single superhero we have here. And they're like, but the drama. And I'm like, you gotta have some fisticuffs as well. So this show won't let anyone cut loose. Hopefully that means there's gonna be an explosive situation at the end. But I mean, how many episodes is it gonna take to get there, man? This isn't a binge, this is a weekly. Some of you have said you don't like going back to weekly for Daredevil. Well, Daredevil never was a weekly show. It's always been historically a binge show. And some of you just can't get behind this new release strategy. So Vanessa is definitely a caged animal, but what a cage. That room is beautiful. I love it. I love it so much. And what makes it even more frustrating that they're tying her down, metaphorically, is that they're doing such a great job with Vanessa. She looks fantastic. I love her wanting to launder money through fine art purchases. So Vanessa, like when you think she just wants to buy a new painting, but instead it's to launder money. And you're like, oh, you still got it, girl. And I love the line where Kingpin says, after finding out that she used his assistant to act in Kingpin's name, he said, let's not get to a place where we don't trust each other. Where I don't, well, he doesn't care about that. That's interesting. Where he says, I don't trust you. And the reason I think that's interesting is because clearly Vanessa already does not trust him. And so maybe that's one of the reasons they're in couples counseling. It's always me, Fisk. You got to think about the we. That's what being in a couple is. So that's funny. Okay. So Vanessa, there's real potential here, but they're just not tapping into any of it. So, I mean, I'm like, you have all the pieces, man, use them. So Vanessa asks all these frantic questions of him. Not only does she want to know about what his plan truly is, she's like, what do you mean? What are we doing? What does that mean? You're so freaking cryptic to me, your wife. But then she's like, are you still upset about Adam? Of course he's still upset about Adam, you stupid bitch. Obviously. I can't, but so comical that she's even asking that. I really wanted to work that meme in. Because I thought of it when I was doing my notes. All right, so also, where is BB Urich's voice, right? Her presence is constantly felt throughout the episode here, again, with her man on the street interviews. But where is her voice as a journalist? She has, for all the times that her report is on camera, she's only on camera once. And when she is, she's just basically sitting there. You know, I mean, I know she's very new at being a journalist. She clearly already has extensive reach, or Kingpin wouldn't be interested in working with her. She's Ben Urich's niece. He was a hell of a reporter. He had a very strong voice. It's almost like the show doesn't understand what reporters do. I find it very frustrating. What and/or who do you feel is being held back in this show so far? If anyone, maybe you don't think anyone's being held back, but if you do, who and what? All right, the court case in this episode had its moments, largely thanks to, I think, some strong acting, particularly from Charlie Cox. When he's in the zone, like today I was like, in a couple of his courtroom scenes, his line readings, I was like, he's very good. It reminded me of the Netflix series. And the guy playing the dirty cop, as I said, he was pretty good too. Not only was he an okay actor, but he had a very good look for it. But another problem that this show has is that it mixes in great actors, or even just solid actors, with like people who have no business in the acting profession. Like you should go and pursue something else. Like the actor playing the informant. Yikes! Whose relative is that? And I'm not even really feeling Margarita LaViva as Heather Glenn, the love interest. She's from The Acolyte, by the way. I didn't recognize her. She's one of the witches. And I'd say it's good that fans are leaving her alone and allowing her to continue on in a Disney property, no less. But I think it's more that they also don't realize it's her, or just don't care, or aren't paying attention to her character, which is, not great. Back to the trial, I have to say I agree that Matt should have checked with Hector before outing him as a vigilante. I mean, dude wears a mask for a reason, Matt. Like, look what happened. He was killed as White Tiger because they knew his identity. I mean, they wanted to send a signal. I mean, it's just very bad. And Matt is responsible for that. And when you add in Matt's Catholic guilt, he's going to feel really bad. Really, really, really bad. Like, wow. Especially because Matt, as we said last week, that should have been in the trial from the very beginning. It was a dead court. So in the show, in tonight's episode, Matt changed his mind because that guy wouldn't testify. So he felt he didn't have a star witness. So he's like, okay, I'll bring in the vigilante aspect. And you're like, that was your case all along, you nut. I mean, like, aren't you supposed to be really good at this, which is why you feel okay not being Daredevil anymore? I mean, I think he didn't do a good job Daredeviling in episode 1. So far, I think he's done a bad job lawyering. So yeah, 2 nights so far. 2 nights of Daredevil Born Again, 2 deaths, and both are Matt Murdock's fault. So far, Wilson Fisk is clean. Just saying, right? But we'll see how long that lasts. 3 episodes in to the first night, now 3rd. What do you think of Daredevil Born Again so far? Are you missing the action? Or do you appreciate the slow burn? Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.